if it works. There we go. Hello. Like Steve said, I'm Heather Shapiro. I'm a technical evangelist here at Microsoft. You might be wondering what a tech evangelist is. It's a very weird title. Essentially, we go out, we're developers, but we don't have a product team, so we go out and talk to community members, developers, students, startups, any community developers, teach them how to use different technologies, how to go deeper into different technologies as well, do proof of concepts for them, just a lot of demos, workshops, etc. So I work a lot with Azure, which is our cloud. So has everyone heard of Azure or no? Okay, so Azure is our, it's like our Microsoft's version of Amazon Web Services. So if you've heard of AWS, it's similar to that. It allows you to have create virtual machines, websites, web hosting, mobile apps, databases, anything really that you could imagine. So Azure is our version of that, and we do have a way of hosting WordPress there, and it's really useful when you're doing when you have a lot more traffic, when you want to do traffic managing. Hosting in the cloud can be really powerful. So we'll talk about why web hosting is necessary beyond just WordPress, beyond just the site. What are the benefits of hosting WordPress and Azure, and how to quickly set up a WordPress site. So it won't be too long, but we'll go through why it's important, why it can help, and how to do it. So hosting a WordPress site, some of the reasons you might, just as an example, a lot of big brands really use WordPress as their main websites. So if you go to the Walt Disney Company website, I didn't know this, I looked today and I saw it's all in WordPress. A lot of, UPS has their blog, and a bunch of different companies will have blogs or apps there. So it's really powerful, but obviously for big brands, it's important to make sure scaling is available. So if thousands of people are on at the same second, the worst and most annoying thing is when you go to a website and it says the SQL database is, server is overused and it can't get the data. So hosting in the cloud does really help with that. So I like to use a lot of GIFs, so hopefully you'll like them. So some important things when you're looking to host in the cloud is scalability. So you want to make sure that anyone at any time could really get onto your website, and make sure that there's no lacks in it being up. So when you need scalability, you have the option to, if you're in the cloud, you have the option to upgrade your site at any given time if your traffic increases. There's also options to do auto scaling, so it automatically detects if, okay, now there's 1,000, tomorrow there's 1,000,000 users, it knows how to scale automatically and will do that for you. So you don't have to worry about traffic managing, but you can also, if tomorrow is just going to be a really popular day because you have a new promotion or a new blog post going out, it can be really important to increase that traffic. Also, reliability is very important, so kind of goes as well with scalability, but making sure that when people actually need to go on your site, that they can get to it, get the content. That's why hosting in the cloud can be really powerful. So this is a comic I found. The cloud service that hosts our logistics software is down. Our backup plan is to stop work and moan about it on Twitter until it comes back up. So reliability is definitely important in scenarios like this, when people are relying on your website to be up, relying on you to be able to give that data, because as a user, you're not likely to go back to a site if every time you try to go there, it's down. So with cloud hosting, it's more reliable than hosting a single server or using just on-prem, just because if your site's not available, when the host machine goes down, then the whole site worldwide is down. Also with the cloud, so we were talking about what Azure has. There's tons of different environments that you can connect to. So you can connect to virtual machines, websites. You can add in traffic managing, storage, big data, databases in the back end. So it really allows you to add more to your site. If you want to store things in a database or what users' comments are, or just different things that you might not be able to regularly do with just the basic website, it definitely helps with like scaling that. So you can create virtual machines, cloud services, mobile services, all different types, and then there's also tons of different platforms that you can create these for, so like Linux or Windows, or things with like PHP, Java, Python, so tons of different plugins that you could write, or Azure functions that you could write that will make your site do something that you want it to do without you actually having to go and do it manually. So Azure functions is very popular, so every time like it schedules like a data refresh, that's something you can connect to your website. So if you want something to constantly have data, you don't want to maintain it, having an Azure function can be really helpful. Also, one of the things that's a big misconception is that you're just always paying for the cloud. Most of the time, it's really you're just paying per use. So if you're doing virtual machines, it's only when it's on. If you're doing a website, it's really only when requests are made. So for my website, I don't have a lot of user traffic, but for my blog, it's hosted on WordPress. I probably spend at most $15 a month. So 15. So it's really not much. I'm sure even if I added in a lot of scalability, because I don't really need it yet, maybe in a few years I'll be super popular and need it, but for right now, it wouldn't even go up that much if I added in all the auto scaling and whatnot. And I had to actually make it a little bit higher so that I could have a custom domain name, and it's still less than 15 or 15. So just to put it in perspective.
What kind of traffic do you have?
Not a lot. Unfortunately, I have been doing a lot of posting. So probably just like when I do post, a couple hundred. So not
a month or a day.
Not a day. I wish. So for others in the room, it might be more useful to use scaling, but I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm used to working with a conventional hosting company. They handle my email and if I switched to Microsoft, would I get the same services that I'm accustomed to with conventional hosting?
So you can set up services for email. So there's something called SendGrid, which you can connect. You do have to maintain that yourself, though. So it is a little bit more of like maintaining and knowing what you personally did and have to do now. There is a lot of there's tons of support teams and emails that you can reach out to, though, and people are pretty responsive. And you can also reach out to me.
Okay, so in other words, there's no tech support. I just need to find
someone who will help you.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise, once you set it up, for the most part, I found is you don't really have to do anything after that. So it's just figuring out how to set it up, and that could be the biggest boundary. But until that, it's not that bad.
So what you were saying previously is you can build any stack you want, open source, and no Microsoft products.
So technically, no, you don't have to use Microsoft products, but if you're in Azure, you're hosting it in Microsoft. So a lot of people will host different websites there. It has nothing to do with Microsoft. Node.js, any type of website, doesn't matter. Mobile applications. You don't have to be using C#. You don't have to be using like ASP.NET. It can be anything you want to host on there.
The WordPress, is that being hosted on Linux?
The preview for Linux just came out. So this one is hosted, I have to double check, I'm not sure, but there is a WordPress on Linux version that just came out recently. They update Azure probably weekly because there's thousands of different features that you can do. So they're constantly adding to it. So that's a brand new feature that they just added.
So SendGrid, actually, I think it's a separate company, right? You just partner with the email?
Yep.
Can you do other like ZocDocs or?
Yes. Yep, so there's a lot of different incorporations, and so if you use like MongoDB, you can set up database connections there. So it's really, you can do whatever you want really there. It's more of just like, let's put it all in one place so that you can now access this and make it more easily. And there are some things like Azure Search, which you do need to have your data in Azure, but that's only going to expand in the future where since it's such a brand new product. In the future, they're going to add more connections to other databases. So with like Power BI We have like a business intelligence tool, drag and drop dashboard for visualizations. You can connect to basically any type of database on-prem, Azure, AWS, Facebook, anything. So it's just they're working on bringing it over to all the different teams. Any other questions?
Just one last one, tangentially related. Normally at other cloud services, I just haven't worked with Azure, you can pick different flavors of Linux or Microsoft's server or...
So I can show the portal in a second and see all the different...
I mean, because you were saying they're just doing it this week, but I didn't even understand.
Oh, so there's tons of different like templates that they have. So there's a basic WordPress and then there's a WordPress on Linux.
And it's all set up, you mean? So
it's all set up, so
you spin it up and it's going.
Yep, exactly.
The server can have it.
Yeah, so I'll show you how to do it in a sec, but really you get the most flexibility on like storage, where you want to store it, and then you can add Azure functions to it and connect it. So it's really the hosting. You're just spinning up that Azure website, and then it's whatever you usually do for WordPress. So one thing to note when you're paying for usage, the things that I've run into, stream analytics. So if you're trying to stream something from, say, like Twitter or anything that is constantly running, it will spend money. You could spend $1,000 in 20 minutes. And I've done that by accident. So all my services shut down because I hit my limit. It's like, oh, what happened? And in like an hour, I blew through all of it. So it's important to turn off your services when you're not using them. If you're not using a virtual machine every day, don't run it, or just like stop it. You don't have to. Keep it open, so that will just save on cost as well. So this is like cloud in general, but with Azure we've kind of touched on it a little bit. But so you can do basic deployment where you have your website in one region, and then you have a SQL database. The problem with this can be though if you need the scalability, everything that's hosted in the same region will be fast, but if you're in other regions than where your data is, it will be slower for users. So if it's more of a regional thing, then it can be totally fine, but visitors from outside the region might see slower responses. But then there's multi-region deployment, so you could have your same website set up in multiple regions, and there's a traffic manager that goes in and says, okay, you're from this region, this is the closest data source to you, this is the closest data source, and it's all still the same database, just in a different region, and then they still access the exact same thing, it's just rooted in a different way, so that they can always access it and scale. So with Azure Traffic Manager, that's how you would scale your WordPress sites. It's the same URL, like I said, so all the visitors have the same website and it looks exactly the same to them. It's just building multiple instances of it in the cloud. And so regions that have like higher traffic and lower traffic regions can be scaled differently. So you don't have to have them all be the same. You can just do, if this one region is always really high, have that one auto scale. If this one's low, just like manually change it when you need to. Then there's also possibilities of adding like media storage and caching to it. So you have all these different regions and Traffic Manager, but then you can add in like blob storage or content delivery network. So you can add in blob storage, different caches, and just using Azure storage there. And then blob storage is automatically geo-distributed across regions. So any data that you need to access is easy to get to. So everything when you're hosting in the cloud is really about scalability and reliability, making sure that your users can always access it and it never goes down. And for those of you who already have WordPress sites, which I assume a lot of you do, there is an import plugin, so you can just import your website from WordPress to Azure, and you'll have to, for this option, you'll have to manually go in and reinstall the plugins, but the other option is to export your WordPress site, import it, and then you'll have all your plugins already. So there is option to really bring the two already together if you don't want to recreate everything. But if we look at Azure, so this is the Azure portal. It has all the information of what you get, app services, virtual machines, subscriptions, etc. So quickly just show like how you would create a WordPress site here. So there's tons of different options and they give templates. So for WordPress, so there's WordPress, and there's WordPress on Linux, and there's a Bitnami database that you can use, MySQL, so there's all different templates of ones that you can already use. And you don't really have to change much. So if I click this, click create, WordPress demo, choose a resource group, so I have lots of resource groups. So you can use a MySQL in app one just to test. Usually you wouldn't use it for development purposes, but there's ClearDB. That's what it's using for databases. And so this is using you choose what service plan, so you can choose different tiers. There's a free one. They give you the prices, so you know how much it will cost every month. And there are a lot of different trials. If you just go to Azure, you can get like $200 a month for the first month. If you go to Visual Studio, you can get $50 a month for the first year.